Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here this beautiful Monday morning with Kabbalistic astrologer Miriam Ashkenazi, who is here to share with us. I think this is maybe the perfect combination of topics to talk about with Miriam, but we're heading toward the new moon of Scorpio on the Kabbalistic calendar, and we have an eclipse coming up, and we're going to talk about both and all and everything in between, which is really exciting. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we aim to provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to navigate the coming 7 days. We do that by exploring the wisdom of Kabbalah and pulling from it the wisdom and tools, as well as our own personal experiences, to share with our listeners wisdom and tools that you can use really anytime, anywhere. And this week is no different. We've been talking for the past 3 weeks since we entered the month of Libra about all the different opportunities that this is really a month of construction, a month of creating the blueprint for the year to come. And we've spoken about the different opportunities that come every week and how to take advantage of them. And what's interesting is that this week, there's no opportunities. I mean, it's like the energy of Libra is winding down, and almost like everything that we programmed for the coming year is being loaded into the cosmic computer, and it really begins through a different combination of events this weekend. So part of what we want to understand about this week is that it's a week of winding down, I guess, in a way, suspended animation. It might feel like there's all this, like the engine is revving, but you're still in neutral. And we really begin to put the pedal to the metal this weekend. So to talk a little bit more about that and to set us up with it, Miriam is here. Miriam, as you may remember, was here over the summer, and we had her last year as well, sharing with us all of the really powerful nuances that come from not only understanding astrology, but through the lens of Kabbalah, and the value of looking at the influence of the planets and the stars, not because they are telling us what to do or they're making us do anything. They're simply providing us with opportunities. And the more we know those opportunities, the better equipped we are to take advantage of them. So thank you, Miriam, for being here.
Of course. Thank you for bringing me again.
Let's talk about what technically is going on, and then you can share with us how is it affecting us.
Beautiful. So I like to start from what you were describing. I think you just put it beautifully, that the energy is winding down. Because what I actually want to share is what's going on with the moon, right? What's going on between the moon and the sun. And we're talking about the month of Libra that is about to end. And when we're talking about the month that is ending, if you think about the cycles of the moon, it's when the moon is starting to diminish. Why is it starting to diminish? Because it's preparing itself to a new cycle. And this new cycle is actually going to take place this coming start on a Saturday evening and Sunday and Monday. It's a process of this new moon and going to start its cycle in the month of Scorpio. So we're entering into the month of Scorpio. But what's also happening as the moon is ending its cycle through all the signs of the zodiac, the last sign before Scorpio is Libra. And what's taking place is something very interesting. Together with the new moon, it always happens with the new moon, that we're experiencing a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse that will be in the sign of Libra. Now, what does it mean? How special it is that it's exactly in this time before the month of Scorpio is, in traditional astrology, when you talk about eclipses, it's considered to be a challenging time. It's a time where somehow you're recommended not to start new things, that things maybe won't work out. But we understand that Kabbalistically, the interpretation of every cosmic occurrence, every transit in the cosmos has a much deeper meaning. So a solar eclipse, we also know that there are two types of eclipses. There is a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. And each of them Kabbalistically has a different meaning. The solar eclipse, what happens is it always happens in a new moon. always happen in the time that a new month is starting. And this is basically the time where the moon is right between the earth and the sun. Now, what's happening is that potentially the sun is covered by the existence of the moon. Cosmically, spiritually, Kabbalistically, what it means that it's actually a very powerful time for us. For those of us that connecting to the new moon on a regular basis or every once in a while, we know that a new moon, it's a time for new beginning. It's a time of new beginning. It's a time when we plant the seed, and we can talk later about what does it mean exactly in Scorpio. But a solar eclipse, it's also a time, if you look at it cosmically, the moon is considered to be the vessel, right? It's the recipient of the light of the sun. The sun is, in its most spiritual sense, it's the source of light. But also, in our life, it can represent the source of our ego. The place where we think that we're better or that we are very self-centered because the sun is the center of the universe. So what happened with the solar eclipse is actually, you can think about it like eclipse on the ego. It's a time in our life when every time we experience a solar eclipse, especially now, right after the holidays, right after the month of Libra, we have an opportunity to connect to a place where we really humble and see where in our life we're coming from ego. We come with lack of humility. We do things that are completely self-centered. Where in our life we maybe live in an illusion that we're doing things for the sake of sharing and we're great, but we actually come with a lot of entitlement maybe or desire to receive respect. So this solar eclipse and any solar eclipse gives us, it's very good for the ones, it says, actually it's written in the Zohar, for the one that are in a spiritual path. It's actually a very powerful time, very elevating time. It's a time of cleansing any aspects of the ego.
And how does that differ from a lunar eclipse?
So that's interesting. So a lunar eclipse is something that happens every full moon, okay? So, and it usually comes in pairs. We are going to experience a lunar eclipse on October 28th.
Wow. So we have now the solar eclipse this week and then the lunar eclipse 2 weeks later.
Exactly. So a lunar eclipse, it's a little bit different because what happens in a full moon is that the sun and the moon are in opposition. They're always in two opposite signs. So for example, the one that will come up, the sun will be in Scorpio and the moon will be in Taurus. Okay? So,
but does it happen every month, or it just happens to be that we're having it?
No, we're having it now, and there is a certain cycle that happens. Usually every 6 to 8 years it will happen on the same signs exactly, but it's different every year. But what happens cosmically is that the Earth is right in between the moon and the sun. So think about the sun trying to shine its light into the moon, but it's covered. It's in the way, right? That's why the moon light is diminished on a lunar eclipse. And the moon is also a representation of our vessel, our spiritual desire. So what happens at this time, it's a little bit maybe more of a challenging time, but it's a time that there's going to be potential for breakthroughs or ending things that are unnecessary for us. That's one thing. But the other interpretation for it, you can just imagine, just very simply, superficially, the light is covered. So what happens when the light is covered? What's potentially can happen if we're not spiritual? We can have lack of certainty. We think that the light is not there. We don't see the light. So it's potentially a time where things can seem challenging, can seem like there is absence of the light, that the Creator is not with us, that things are not happening in the right way, but it's actually there. But it's harder to see it. So that's why it's maybe considered to be a more challenging time, but that's why it's a time of a breakthrough. It's a time of ending something because it's a very powerful time to actually overcome something and strengthen our certainty. You know, it's like how you grow from the situations in life that are more challenging, and later on in life you attribute that time to be the most powerful time when you became stronger and wiser. That's what lunar eclipse represent for us.
So knowing that the solar eclipse is this Saturday night, right?
Right.
So how can we prepare ourselves specifically for this one? I imagine, maybe I'm wrong, and please tell me, but there's something unique about the fact that it's happening in the month of Scorpio. Unique opportunities,
it's happening right before the month of Scorpio.
No, but I'm meaning these eclipses take place a few times a year,
right?
But we're being given a specific gift, having it fall right now,
right?
So, what should we be careful about? What should we be open to receive? How does it look for us?
Right. So, I think there's a few beautiful things that we should mention. First of all, continuing your line of opening, that we're ending the many opportunities of the month of Libra to really inject the most amount of positive energy, awareness into the new year, right? So hopefully we're in a place where we see better, where we're more prepared for a new beginning. So I think the power is, first of all, that it comes in a time where we're ending the holidays right before we're starting the new month of Scorpio, which is also the month of transformation. Scorpio is considered to be the time and a month that's all about spiritual transformation. It's an opportunity, the sign of Scorpio, the month of Scorpio is an opportunity for us to connect to all the things that we don't want in our life anymore, to change it completely, and to create a new beginning, to give birth to things in our life that represent the new me. And this is really what it is. And, everything chronically happened not by coincidence. And that's beautiful. That's the beautiful gift. I would mention one more thing. I think we spoke about it the last episode, so the ones that follow from the summer, we spoke about the nodes. If you remember the points of Tikkun, the south node currently is in Libra. The south node in Libra, and the eclipse happens in Libra. Libra doesn't only talks about those of us that are Libra. It's for all of us. It represents ideas that connected to relationship and areas in our life when we are compromising our own authentic self, or we don't know how to create the right boundaries to really blossom and be brave. And so what this eclipse is also igniting is all the energy that we want to leave behind, that has to do with this south node, with all our wrong perceptions about the way that we're running our relationships in our life, or how we maybe even come with a lot of ego into these relationships because the eclipse is connected to the ego. So we see clearly something that we really need to leave behind and start new in the month of Scorpio. I hope that's clear.
No, it's very clear, and I think one of the reasons I was so excited about today's episode is because, to me, it's all about preparation. When I started to study Kabbalah, we had a class on Monday nights that was all about the energy of the week. And I was in school at the time and I was working. I had like a crazy schedule, so I usually only got to listen to the class on Friday. And I was always so frustrated, like, if I had known that on Monday, my week would have looked so different. And that's really one of the reasons, I think, at a seed level, why this podcast is I feel it's so valuable, is because it's really about preparation. The earlier you listen to it, the better equipped you are to navigate the week. So when I spoke with Miriam originally about coming back to the podcast, and she was telling me how what's the right word? Like how powerful, we use that word so much, but how powerful the combination of events taking place this week was. When we were trying to decide, should we do the episode next Monday or today? And the reality is, to me, how much we benefit from each cosmic opening is about our preparation. That's why in the month of Virgo, every episode was so focused on that prep work. We were preparing ourselves for the month of Libra. Now at the end of the month of Libra, we're preparing ourselves for these two pivotal moments in this week, because not only is the solar eclipse on Saturday night, that's exactly when the 48 hours of the new moon begin. So actually next week's episode on Monday will be in the new moon, but since so many listeners listen after it airs, we wanted to make sure that you're really prepared and that you know. And to me, part of that preparation, even just listening to what Miriam said, is, where am I not maintaining healthy boundaries? Where can I set better rules of engagement in how I am in certain relationships? Or even when I think about, we've been focusing the last few weeks on kind of getting out of our own way, unlimiting our potential, recognizing that there's more of us that we are not in touch with than we are already in touch with. Like, there's so much to uncover. And this is really about that, to look at what are, if I were to interview you on the podcast and ask you what's preventing you from being the most unlimited, the best version, the most infinite version of you, you would say, well, my job, the economy, I was raised this way. We would list all of the reasons that we can't fulfill our potential, right? They're pretty clear to us. Even if I'm feeling unspiritual and you ask me that question, I can give you some pretty, materialistic reasons why I can't do X, Y, and Z. But the truth is, none of that is an excuse. And the more ready we are with those barriers to break and the broken belief systems that we no longer want to maintain, moments like this weekend, Saturday night with the eclipse and then the new moon, Sunday and Monday, we really have the opportunity to do work that maybe we never did before because of the combination of events and now our awareness of what's going on. There's so much work to do this week to get ready for it. And because of that energy of winding down and like the program is loading, we really do have that opportunity. Like, nothing's going on. Sit down and think about, what do you want to work on? What part of your ego do you need to eclipse? Right? Exactly. We call the episode Total Eclipse of the Soul, because in a way, the soul is saying, let's be clear about what needs to be worked on right here. Let me shine on it in a way.
Exactly. It's beautiful. And I feel also, if we're already in the topic of the new moon, I think it's also beautiful to see the connection between the Libra and the Scorpio, because Libra, there is a lot of work that we're doing this month, but a lot of it's in the head. It's in the soul. It's in the heart. We come with a lot of, it's almost like a New Year resolution, right? Next year, this is how I want to be. This is where I want to invest in. This is how I expand my vessel. You have all those intentions. Now, the month of Scorpio is the first month, and not by coincidence, it's a very powerful month. We're talking about the sign of Scorpio. It's a water sign, and internally it's fire. And it's ruled by Pluto, which is the planet of depth and truth and transformation. So we get so much power to act on everything that we meditated on. The one thing we should be aware of, maybe you can say the danger of the month, or something to be, again, aware of, mindful of, to pay attention to, is that the month of Scorpio can come with a lot of intensity. Because think about the water and the fire are two extreme natures, right? And you put it together, and for the ones that are Scorpio, they might feel it all the time or constantly. It's like a battle. It's an internal battle. Because in this month, and I know, our teacher Rav Berg used to talk about it, and Karen, that this is the month where the secret of the end, the ultimate connection to the light, the time of Messiah, the time of redemption, is actually the secret in this month. This is how powerful the seed level that we plant this month. But the danger is also that this month can also, it says, it's or you are building or constructing, or you destroying,
and there's no in between.
There is no in between this month, and it's the energy, it's very powerful. So really a lot is on our hands and our consciousness, because the intensity is there, but the potential is so huge, and this is something very powerful.
Well, I think if you know people born in the sign of Scorpio, or you yourself are Scorpio or have a Scorpio in your chart, those, and even in kind of Scorpios are classically known as, they can be difficult people not because of something is wrong, but literally because they can be so intense. And that intensity of emotion, or the propensity to see things in either black or white, building or destroying, you're either with me or against me.
Right.
That's the influence we're all going to experience a little bit. And every time that we have an episode around the new moon, we talk about the new moon is the seed of the month. So in the same way, you can, not that I'm an advocate for this, but scientists genetically modify tomato plants to not decay, not rot, to be resistant against insects and things like that. The Kabbalists teach that we can affect the seed of the month so that whatever was potentially coming our way can be even better. And that's why our recommendation is always to be as mindful, as proactive, as sharing in the seed of the month, because you leave that impression, you create that mold for the remaining 28, 29 days of that month. So in knowing that the month of Scorpio can be ultra intense, and especially one of the things that I find really, I don't know if the word is entertaining, but maybe it's affirming, that when you know the energy of the month and you watch the world respond to it in the news and in, even if maybe your family isn't so spiritual, so you watch them respond to the energy. It's so interesting to see how our knowledge, of course, we all make mistakes, we all trip up a little bit, but knowing that there is a tendency this month to be extreme, to, even if you're not like that the rest of the year, to be a little bit more, the best way I can say is to be black or white. And I had a conversation with my husband. It's a little bit embarrassing, but we were talking about, I've been working on different projects over the years, and many of them haven't seen the light of day. So the non-spiritual part, the physical, my 1% materialistic self says, well, there must be somebody who doesn't like me that just keeps blocking all these things that I want to do, and I want to reveal the light and share so much wisdom with people, and yet there's somebody out there that's just like, I don't like her, what can I do to get in her way? And so my husband looks at me and is like, what's wrong with you? No, he didn't say that. He's with much love and compassion and also sense of humor. He said, nobody is against you, right? You think it may look like people are making decisions, but this is important work. And if it's not happening, it's because the universe has decided it's not happening. And I was so glad we had that conversation now, because I know one of the tendencies I have with a healthy amount of Scorpio in my chart is to get into, we call it movies. There's actually a word in psychology for it. I think it's confabulation. When you don't have all the information, so you invent, whoa, they must not like me. Do you know that they don't like you? That's a very Scorpio tendency, is to, just assume they're out to get me, they hate me, the universe hates me, the creator hates me, everybody's against me, I'm alone, I'm bringing it up and maybe exposing it so I can cleanse it myself this eclipse. But also for any of you that have that, it doesn't have to be on a daily basis, but once in a while you go there, that there's a conspiracy theory against you, or someone is out to get you, or you just have bad luck, or it's an absolute, right? That's another thing that Scorpios get into, is that like, that's it. There's no middle ground. There's no recovering. You can't make it up to me. You're on my blacklist. Any of those tendencies are going to come to the surface in the month of Scorpio. So working through those, that's what I'm saying. I was so grateful for that conversation in the month of Libra, so that I could be ultra aware and really surrender to the fact that the universe is my boss. There aren't people who are out to get me, or, the creator knows my intention and knows my desire and is going to give everything a much better timing than I could ever orchestrate. So this is another aspect of the preparation for this month, is whatever Scorpio tendencies you may have, rein them in now. Heal them now. Meditate on them now. Look for, I often say to my husband, as an example, anytime you see me going there, we have like a safe word that we use that to make sure that we don't go there. So to have somebody out there to remind you, somebody that you feel comfortable with, and when they hear you getting into those movies or, inventing stories about what's going on, that they help you catch yourself and rein you back into the soul level that knows the only force that's moving my plot line anyway is the creator, is the universe, and me. So if there's something I don't like, or if there's something I don't know, ask. And maybe that's what I need to know.
I love it. I think you're just connecting it in a beautiful way, because as we said before, eclipse also is a time of illusion. So in preparation to the new month, what is the illusion in the month of Scorpio? The illusion is the absolute reality. Everything that we see this month, that it's absolute great or absolute bad, it's black or white or life or death, this is where we need to have the benefit of the doubt. And this is actually something beautiful from the month of Libra, right? They always like to see both sides.
Maybe it is,
yes.
Maybe it isn't.
So there is maybe a negative aspect for that when you're completely consumed with indecisiveness and seeing your reality through a very indecisive lens. But the absolute that comes in the month of Scorpio is usually not here to support us. So we always have to understand that this is the illusion in the month. It's never absolute. There is always another side. Strive to see the other side. Strive to hear the other side. Strive to see the light in the time of darkness, because this is what Scorpio is about. It can naturally also be drawn to the darkness, see how things are wrong. So now, where is the light here? Where is the positive side? Where is the half side of the cup that is full? And this is the struggle in this month, but it's something for all of us to pay attention to.
I know for me also, definitely less since being on a spiritual path, but one of the Scorpio tendencies I have, that's like a confession to an astrologer, is when I'm upset, I can destroy. If I remember, again, this is many years ago, but I worked on a project and the project was rejected. Or, no, sorry, I'm exaggerating now. I worked on something. I used to write, or I still write, but whatever. One of the editors came back with, sent me back my thing with lots of red ink all on it.
Yes.
And I said to her, if you don't like the way I write, find another writer. And I left. Maybe yes. Another person would have flipped the desk over and slammed the door, but that was my Pisces version of, doing something dramatic, is I told her to find somebody else to work with. And that in that moment that I felt the hurt or the rejection or whatever it was, I didn't care that I was damaging a relationship. I didn't care that I might not be able to fix whatever damage my response is creating. And I think that that's a signature quality that Scorpios have. And again, being somebody who's not Scorpio, I feel safe to confess this to everybody, that, if that is something that you relate to, or that when you have arguments, you say things that you don't mean and you don't care the damage, the collateral damage that creates, this is another thing to already begin to work through. Don't wait, right? It's one thing if you have an anger issue and you say, okay, the next time I get angry, I'm going to work on it. It's another thing to say, I know I have an anger issue and I'm going to work on it now so that I don't get angry, or that doesn't happen again. Right. That's another level of being proactive, of being conscious, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, that's a thing in the month of Scorpio. Another advice is emotions run high, right? So again, emotions, it's something, I see everything in through the Kabbalistic eye in astrology, that everything is raw energy. Nothing is good or bad. So if you are extremely emotional or sense things or feel things, remember this month Pluto is the ruler, is the one that is like the deeper change and transformation, and it's all about depth and truth. And the powers of emotions in this month can be transformed in a beautiful way to support others, to feel others, to intuitively know what's right and what's wrong for the sake of sharing. So this is, I think, another indicator to know that if your emotions serving you or destroying you right now, is that the emotions are completely, intensified when it comes to what's happening to you and completely self-centered, or you're able to raise above it and to use your emotional nature, or at times can be extreme emotional nature, to put yourself in situations when you really support others emotionally or in any other way, and you intuitively see how to engage with elements that will bring construction, will bring, elevation, will bring positive change, rather than take anyone around you down.
That's good advice for someone like me that has like 11 planets in water. I don't imagine that we'll get you to come back in the next 2 weeks. So I want to ask you to talk a little bit more about the full moon and the lunar eclipse that's going to happen then, and how we can take advantage of that.
Okay. So in general, full moon, it's a very powerful
And that's,
day.
you said on the 28th
Yes.
of October.
Okay. Yeah. So a full moon is a powerful time in general, because every full moon gives us a different opportunity. As it's on a full moon, you can just imagine that the moon and the sun are in oppositions, and the moon is completely full with the light of the sun, right? We look at the moon. It's like perfect union between the light and the vessel. So cosmically, energetically, every full moon present to us an opportunity for accomplishing something, to uniting something in our life, to conclude something.
And it's always going to be one of the most positive days of the month, no matter what month it is.
No matter which month, exactly. Right. But what's unique to each month is the location of the sun and the moon, which signs are they in, right? Because they provide a unique opportunity. So this specific one, the sun is in Scorpio, and the moon will be in Taurus. Now, it's always the opposite signs. The axis of those signs present certain opportunity that is available only on this month, only in this full moon. So Taurus is a representation of balance, is grounding, is healing, and bringing everything down to earth. It represents a lot of other things, but that's the quality of the full moon in Taurus. In the month of Scorpio,
it feels like we really need that grounding in the month of Scorpio.
Exactly. We need that grounding. We need a connection between the spiritual and the physical, the 1% and the 99%, between the spirit and between how we can manifest it and ground this energy in a beautiful, harmonious way. Taurus considered to be the most optimistic, not most, but one of the more optimistic signs, positive, right? They usually focus on the good, having a hard time to change. And Scorpio, it's all about change. Always see what requires change, what's not okay. So how do we balance those energies in our life? How do we see the perfect harmony between who we are at the moment and how everything is just perfect, and between what still needs work and what's even to see the light within the darkness? So that's a beautiful opportunity. The lunar eclipse might present a struggle with that, because remember that the light is covered. So maybe it's maybe going to present the opportunity is there, the full moon is there, the light is completely there to complete our vessel, to complete us, to
nothing
help
is
us.
Missing.
Nothing is missing, but it seems like something is missing. It's going to feel that something is missing, that there is no perfect union, there is no perfection in my situation right now. And the secret is to find the perfection in what's happening in my life, in every area of my life right now in this moment.
I'm just smiling because I feel like in every episode for maybe the last 6-8 weeks, that theme has come up. Of if you look for it, you'll find it.
Right.
And I've had different people reach out over the last few weeks talking about, how the episodes have affected them, and that reminder almost on a weekly basis now seems to me like something that, we don't plan this in advance. And the fact that you bring it up, it really is medicine. Like it really is something that is therapeutic and healing, especially I think as we go toward the month of Scorpio. Like you said, Libras tend to see the beauty in all things. And so we've been supported to be optimistic and to be, to give people the benefit of the doubt and to go back and forth like that. And as we go to the month of Scorpio, that ability is a bit diminished.
Right.
The tendency is to see it as absolute. It's the end of the world or it's the best thing ever and there's nothing in between. So it's a really good reminder that even though the light may not be visible, that doesn't mean it's not there.
Exactly.
Well, Miriam, this has been fabulous. Every time you're here, it's like, for me, I feel like it's a personal episode just for me, but okay. I hope that everybody benefited from my 40 minutes of therapy with you. If you're interested in learning more about Miriam's work and how you can connect with her personally, you can go to weeklyenergyboost.com, see her beautiful little picture, click the link, and spend some time alone with her if you'd like. She does readings, natal charts, progressions, family dynamic charts, amazing stuff. And hopefully we'll get you back soon to share more with us. You can find Weekly Energy Boost on all podcast platforms as well as YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You can go to our website and not only learn about Miriam, but about all the things we think are important for our listeners to know. You can join our WhatsApp community and get different listener benefits that way as well. But as always, my main request to all of you is to share the episode. We're reaching more and more people every week, and the response is phenomenal. So keep doing that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miriam, again for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.